And the hits just keep on coming. So this is going to be different from those camera videos we did with Sony and Blackmagic, because today I'm going to talk about DJI, and they disrupt a lot. You know, they're disruptors when it comes to the drone industry, but this is huge because the new thing that has just come out is this FPV drone system. So to give you a little bit of context, and I'm just going to tell you kind of the state of the art that's been now and how they're changing everything. So for a long time, DJI have been making like this. So this is an opti mode kind of drone. It's just meant to go, you know, forward, back, very simple, and just kind of pan. Then you have a nice camera that gets really good images. And so that's like the regular kind of drone that DJI has been using for a long time. But recently they got into the FPV game, which stands for first person view, by having this system. A drone like this, that on that drone it's just meant to go flat. But this one has a pitch and a yaw and a roll and then throttle that makes it go up and down. And by doing that, you get these crazy images like this one from Johnny FPV. I hate this guy. He's so good. He makes me feel so self-conscious about everything I do with my drone. So these kind of drones can do crazy, amazing things. But for a lot of them, and you'll see with this rubber on here, they're more or less like kind of fast and furious, and they crash pretty easily. But they go super fast, and they get such a unique image. And as you can see, they take a lot of like modular kind of work. You need to know a lot of your settings. You need to set it up yourself. You need to get a specific battery that's kind of volatile and can only fly for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, and all this stuff. So DJI got into this game by making this little system and having a digital goggle. So first person view, you don't have a regular controller. You have to have not only one of these that's all slick and cool, it's not like a regular game controller. It has this little throttle that you need to control yourself, but also the first person goggles. Put them on and it looks like Darth Vader's visor he uses to go to bed. And it's amazing because digital goggles are so different than what people have been using before, which is analog. Kind of like an RC helicopter or something like that. It sends out an RC signal that goes to your headset, or analog signal, sorry, not RC. And it goes to your headset and you can see, but it's all kind of staticky and gross. This one's digital. So this digital camera goes straight to here and you can like record the footage coming straight to the headset because it looks so crisp because it's digital. But the main thing, the reason why people hadn't been using it before, is it's not usually reliable. The farther you get away, the more bits you have coming in. It usually has a low, it's not low latency. But DJI's been doing a pretty good job with this system. So that's how they've been kind of disrupting this whole, I'd say, enterprise recently. But today that all changes. What that system does is it integrates the DJI like digital aspects and all that stuff with old FPV kind of I'd say ecosystem. Now they've made their own. This new system is so different because it doesn't have any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't have like you need to supply your own battery. It's not just 4 motors and a camera, which is what all drones really are. This one, not only the camera pivots a bit, and it's all smart, you know, this and that, but it has different functions that allow for a beginner to pick it up, try to learn, and then when they're feeling confident, they can switch it into acrobatic mode. Now, a lot of drones already have that, but it's not very user-friendly. You need to like flash your own firmware and do all this other crazy stuff just to try to get to here. But this, you can buy right now for $1,300 MSRP. That comes with the goggles, a controller, and the drone, which is unheard of. The kits that I just showed you, all of them are about like $2,000 and up. Like, this is crazy that you can get into this kind of ecosystem with a beginner-friendly drone for that cheap. Now, this big disclaimer, and I need to mention this early on, is that I am a licensed drone pilot. I have my Part 107 certification. I love drones so much. I love working with them. I think they're amazing, and I use DJI products very often. And I don't want to say I'm a shill, but I really do enjoy using their products. They're very reliable and they're very consistent in their quality. I use the Mavic series a lot for my own personal stuff, but for work I use the Inspire series. I have a lot of history with the DJI drones. They're far more reliable than, and I've used other manufacturers, they're more reliable than the other manufacturers a lot of the time. I don't want to say all the time, but a lot of the time. My major concern though is the fact that these kind of drones, regular drones, can be very dangerous. They not only these propellers are going so fast that they can really cut you up. Like I've gotten injured in ways I'm not too proud of from flying a drone. I've only crashed a couple of times, but my major issue with this drone is the fact that, as they mentioned, it can go up to past 80 miles an hour. Now, for a certified drone pilot, someone that knows what they're doing, they're going to go to a wide open space. They're going to make sure that no one's around. You cannot fly over people and you cannot fly over moving cars. They will have a visual observer that will be watching the drone so that the pilot can, do all the motor movements, but the visual observer will keep track of it just in case they lose connection. They can bring the drone back. These are all standard practices for drone pilots. My problem with this is that for $1,300, I could see someone buying this, getting very excited, going into their backyard, putting on goggles so they don't have a visual observer, and then flying it around and potentially either crashing it somewhere they shouldn't have been in the first place or doing something that could endanger themselves or someone else. So I need to get that out of the way to tell you that this is not a toy. It really isn't. Drones are not toys. They can be very fun. They have basically a video game controller, but they're very, very serious business. And I can't stress that enough, that you can really do some damage with one of these things. And the fact that it's ready out of the box, you get not only the FPV goggles and remote, mean that it's easier for someone to pick it up and try to use it. And that's amazing. I'm very excited for this because I can't wait to see the things that people that didn't feel confident enough to fly a drone, that they can actually feel like they can do it. But definitely proceed with caution. Please find the no-fly zones in your area before you fly any sort of drone. Please make sure that you are being safe. You have a friend with you that is just watching the drone and that is keeping track of what's going on and can tell you when something can be an issue. If there are birds in the area, if you're getting too close to a tree, any of that kind of stuff. Okay? Be very safe. Now, with that out of the way, the thing that blows my mind about this is the fact that there are some creature comforts and there are just some features in this that you could not get before with a regular FPV drone. This one right here, this battery is pretty volatile. You need to order it differently than this actual drone itself because it has the ability that if you puncture it, this thing's going to blow up. I mean, most batteries are like that, but this one in particular, they're so different than most batteries because they need to send out so much power at once to make sure that all of these motors are going super fast and can fly the drone. These batteries only last 5 to 10 minutes. This kind of drone, this new drone, can last about 20 minutes. DJI drones are known for staying in the air a pretty long time compared to other drones and other batteries. But for 20 minutes for an FPV drone is near unheard of. Like nobody, I really don't think you could go to an FPV flyer and say like, oh yeah, my drone gets 20 minutes. And they'd be like, what are you even talking about? So not only that, they have their smart batteries, their different batteries, and that they are, hot swap. Well, not hot swappable. Hot swappable means you can keep the drone on and you can swap them. You can only really do that with the Inspire series that has 2 batteries, so you can swap those. This does not have that. I don't know why I brought it up, but what you can do is that you can swap it out relatively easily. Let's just keep on going. Yes, 80 miles an hour. This scares me a little bit, but it's ready to fly. Like you grab it and you can go. The controller is crazy to me. Now, most drones controller like this. This is a big boxy thing. There are way more intricate ones that I have that I use for one of my first drones that I had that was FPV style. And the major difference between this and a regular drone controller is that not only has more the antennas are a little bit better, but also that the throttle doesn't just stay in place like a regular controller. Like I can stick it up or down. And the main reason for that is so that when it's at all the way down, it's at 0. That means that it is not flying at all. There's no throttle, there's no power going to the motors, which is good because then you can actually like give it some juice and then the drone starts flying. This controller is not only way more user-friendly and way more ergonomic, because this thing's so heavy, it's kind of annoying to use, frankly, but this one makes you feel like you're actually like kind of controlling a video game. I feel like it's going to be easier for people to get into the ecosystem. So I'm super stoked about this, and I think they show it here. Yeah, DJI loves doing this. The little knobs where you put your fingies, you can take that out and put it into the controller, so you can like put it in your pocket and you don't have the joystick sticking out. So love that. Great ergonomic stuff. What they don't show here, and I'll see if I can find a separate video that shows it, is they don't show the motion controller. So they've come out with basically a Wiimote that operates just kind of like a helicopter joystick for this controller. And it's motion controlled, which is crazy. It doesn't go into any sort of like gyro or anything like that. So I'm really curious for $200 how well that thing works, because for you to learn, you know, the buttons and knobs and everything on the controller is kind of counterintuitive. It's hard to know that like, okay, this is the throttle, then this is the roll, and now you have like all the other stuff here. So it's hard to kind of like keep of that, or I think that's even the yaw. See, I just got it wrong. So like it's hard to like describe to people, make sure that they know what's going on. So for them to give you this motion controller that's like a gyro joystick is kind of crazy, because what you're going to have there is something that's a little bit more intuitive. But I'm afraid that for a drone that goes 80 miles an hour, I don't want to leave much to chance. So I'm a little wary of that, of leaving motion controls kind of in the driver's seat of a very, very powerful drone. Like I said before, they have these same kind of goggles. I feel like a dingus because these aren't compatible with that. They look very similar, but they're not the same. So there might be they're saying there's going to be a firmware update coming up soon that you can use this headset as a spectator. So if somebody's flying and they're using like this drone system, this can help them spectate and see what you're doing, which is good if you have like a client. You can kind of show them what they're looking at. Yeah, these headsets are crazy. Like I said before, you can put an SD card in them and you can record to the headset, which is crazy. So you have proxy files in case the drone goes down. Yep, you have your high-speed flight modes. There are 3 modes for this drone. There are normal mode, which will just like I showed you with the Mavic, it will just go straight and you can kind of turn left and right. And that's something that a lot of people have already been using on regular FPV drones. It's a setting you can already do. But then they're going to have your sport mode, which is just like normal mode, but faster. And that gets you, it just goes, it's a little kind of, the thing that freaks me out, and I think they bring it up here, let me show you if they have the video, is that the drone, when you go into sport mode, I think it's over here. Yeah, sport mode. For this kind of drone, it seems like it's hard to kind of make stuff out. Like this guy's just kind of like throttling it, and I don't think they realize like what they're running into. So even though these goggles are great, like be aware that like if you put it into sport mode, look at that. Like you almost missed that. Like, or almost hit it. Like this is no joke, these kind of things. So that's the second setting, which you honestly could accidentally click and then go into sport mode. And then the last one is manual mode. Manual mode is also called acro mode when you're an FPV flyer. And what that means is that you don't have that kind of like, cool, it just stays like this. If you start to move something, it might pitch forward or back or left or right. And that makes it easier to get those sweeping cool shots I already showed you. So that's an awesome feature, and I'm very excited for that because we've never had that in a drone that is this kind of consumer friendly. But at the same time, I would say the fact that you can like, I mean, and you can do it on any of these FPV drones, that you can just kind of flip it on accident potentially, is a little wary because this is so cheap and so user friendly and kind of beginner friendly. I think they show it right here that there's normal, sport, and then manual. So be cognizant of that. Don't touch that if you don't know what you're doing. And from what I also understand, it has a 4K 60 frames per second camera, which is amazing. It's 35 millimeters fixed, as well as f2.8 fixed, which, like I had mentioned before, with these FPV cameras, like people usually use GoPros. Like that is the kind of feature that you like, it's gonna look really good in comparison to a lot of drones because like they're just using GoPros and other like fixed cameras. So the fact that this not only pivots, but it also has like, I think the sensor is the same kind of sensor that they use on the Mavic Mini series. So it already has like a sensor that they've been using for a long time with a really good lens. So to change, the one thing that I'd be wary about is the fact that since it is a fixed aperture, you might need an ND filter, and I don't think they've come up with any ND filters yet, or you'll have to hike up your shutter speed, then things are going to look a little choppy and there's not going to be any motion. But one other thing I really love about this that does not happen with FPV drones is that they have a return to home feature. Now, return to home is something that a lot of the like DJI drones already have, but what it ends up doing is it just, if you don't know where your drone is, you hit that and it comes back to you, which is nice for a beginner. But I'm going to be honest with you, I never use that. I use DJI drones all the time, and I never use the return home feature just for the fact that I'm always skeptical of how well it's going to work. I've known people that have like, they lift off in a place that doesn't have too much room around them, and it has a good amount of room, but you know, like there might be a landing pad where they landed it or took off from, and it won't land on the landing pad. It might land a little bit to the left, and that might go off somewhere. So I never really use the return home feature, but it's crazy that they put it in FPV drone, which, like I showed before, is kind of just a battery, 4 motors, and a camera. So that's crazy, and that's in normal mode. And then we have, like I mentioned, the 4K camera, which is really incredible. You can do 1080p at 120 frames per second. Oh my God. In FPV, that looks amazing. And yeah, I mean, it has a similar angle to a GoPro, but f2.8. It does H.264 and H.265, so 120 megabits per second. So like I said, that's going to be a little rough on your computer, but you know, could be worse. And the thing that I also heard is that it's a modular, repairable design. So the design of it is actually meant for you kind of to crash because it's expected. Like I mentioned before, be safe, because when it comes to an FPV drone, you're expected to crash these way more than a regular drone. So make sure you're being safe, you're putting it in the right place, and that they've kind of expected that. So it has a modular design, it's repairable. So you can send it in for repairs if you have DJI Care. I think they have some of the pricing here. That for 1 year it's $200, 2 years is $319. So that makes it easier for you to send it in, get repairs, and get the drone back. I've had mixed success with their kind of service like that. Sometimes we send in a drone and it's good as new. Sometimes they haven't fixed everything, so be wary of that. But if you need a completely new drone, I think it's for like $750. So if you end up totaling your drone, you can get a new one for $750. You don't need to buy another headset and goggles to get the new one. So I'm thinking, I'm so excited for this. For me personally, I mean, like, I love flying these drones. I love all this kind of stuff. But I will say that, like, I've been using this controller to fly in a simulator, and we have a video of us doing that on our live stream. I'll link that somewhere, and it's really fun. I enjoy doing it. I did it in Liftoff in that video, but there's also the Drone Racing League game on Steam. All these games are on Steam. If you have one of these controllers, you can test actual drone flying. But I'm going to be honest, I haven't really taken that drone out very much. I kind of feel like I can't because I'm afraid that, like, oh, I've only been testing in the simulator. I don't know how to fly, you know, outside with people. So it's a little crazy. Like, you know, it's not, you don't feel like super confident about it. But this is so user-friendly and beginner-friendly that I feel like if I got this and put it in normal mode, after a little while, I might want to dip my toes into sport mode and into manual mode. So that's what's really exciting about this. The fact that I feel like it's really beginner friendly and for people to feel more confident in flying first person view drones. And yeah, with that, I mean, for $1,300, that's kind of crazy. I do want to see the motion controller. I do want to see just kind of the things that people are making with this. And I know that DJI actually had their video about the drone. So here we have the actual video, and they talk a lot about, oh my God, look how amazing we've been flying forever. Now it's time to revolutionize it, which they have every time they've released a drone. They've made something kind of completely different from what we've had before. And this thing is just so crazy. Like, it looks so different than most drones. especially FPV drones. But look at that. Look at these shots that they're getting. It is unlike anything else that you can get with any consumer drone on the market. So the fact that they're breaking into that space and being like, you don't need to know how to solder to do FPV drone flying anymore. You can just kind of make it happen right here. Like, look at that. Here's the motion controller. I'm very wary of it because it actually does seem to like, see, if you do that, you go left. If you do that, you go right. But I am wary of the fact that it is not, like, look at this thing. It's going so fast. I don't want to put that in the hands of a motion controller, you know? I want as much control as possible. By the way, not okay. Where is it? Where's this guy? Don't fly around birds. Don't do that. It's not okay. They're just minding their own business. Please leave wildlife alone. I know they just probably got that in the moment and whatever, wherever they were, but like the FAA guidelines do not fly around any animals. And if you are, make sure that you are treating them with as much space as they need. But besides that, look at this. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm very excited for this drone. And yep, here's manual mode, also known as acro mode, and they're just doing all this crazy, you know, dipping and diving and backflipping. And yeah, you can do so many cool transitions and stuff just with that movement. So it's exciting. Yeah, it has brake and hover, which is something that you don't get with other drones. So if you hit that, it'll just stop and it'll chill where it is. Which for most acro drones, you kind of just got to land it. So not only does this have brake, but it also comes back to you. 20 minutes of max flight time is stupidly long. Like, I can't tell you. Like, for FPV, that's unheard of. It really is. So the fact that it can do that, it can brake and just kind of sit in the air, which FPV drones don't really do, that I know of, it's just crazy. This thing is just crazy. And yeah, I'm excited. Yep, like they said, replaceable parts, landing gear, all that kind of stuff. So luckily, it seems like they've hedged their bets. They know that we're not all, like, you know, perfect children when it comes to flying. And yes, oh man, you just can't get these shots with any other kind of drone. And it has a stabilizer built in, which is great, so that you can get those nice fluid shots. And yeah, I just cannot wait for the fact that, like, this is now in the hands of you and me, regular Joes. But yeah, oh my god, that motion controller, where is it? I do not trust that thing. I really don't. But besides that, I am very excited. I hope you guys are too. And let me know if you're thinking about dipping your toes into the drone FPV thing. Because frankly, we covered a $2,500 camera last time. We were all psyched about that. But this is $1,300 to get into drone first-person view flying. So I'm very excited. I'm probably going to pick one up. And yeah, I can't wait to try it out and just see how different it is than a regular FPV system, because these are super cool and exciting, but they do have a lot of barrier to entry and are kind of their own beast when it is trying to, like, use them. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Thank you to our patrons. Come hang out with us on Twitch. We've been playing a bunch of video games. And yeah, you have a great day, and I'll see you when the next crazy thing pops. Okay? Bye-bye.